There's a very specific kind of exhaustion I see in cycle breaking parents, and it's not the kind you fix with more sleep or better routines. It's the exhaustion of knowing better and still snapping. It's that moment when, after you lose your patience, when you're standing in the kitchen or sitting on the edge of the bed thinking, I know why this happened. I know what I should have done. I know my child isn't trying to hurt me. And somehow that makes it worse, not better, because now it's not just frustration, it's shame. If that sounds familiar, I want you to lean in a second, not to fix anything, just to hear this clearly. I'm Dr. Luz, and I'm here to help you raise badass humans by becoming one yourself. Most of the parents I work with are thoughtful, reflective, therapy-aware people. They've done the work on themselves. They understand patterns. They've read the books. They might even help other people regulate their emotions for a living. We're talking teachers, therapists, those kind of folk. And yet when it comes to their own kids, it can feel like all that insight disappears in the heat of the moment. Here's what I want to name, because it rarely gets said out loud. Knowing better does not mean you have access to that knowledge when you're dysregulated. Let me say that again. Having that knowledge doesn't mean you can access it when you're dysregulated. It's not a personal failure. That's biology. When you're under stress, tired, rushed, or emotionally touched by something old, your nervous system doesn't ask, what does she know? It asks, am I safe? And if the answer feels like a no, your system will default to whatever kept you safe a long time ago. And it happens in an instant. This isn't about thinking your way through it. Even if you've outgrown it, even if you're consciously trying to do things differently. So I want you to give yourselves a break. This is why cycle breaking parents get so tired. They're not just managing other people's behavior. They're interrupting history. They're trying to respond instead of react while carrying awareness and responsibility at the same time. So I think about a mom who once said to me, the hardest part isn't when I yell, it's that I can explain exactly why I yelled. I mean, she was so guilt-ridden about that. That sentence told me everything, because now she was holding two realities at once. The part of her that understands and the part of her that still gets overwhelmed. That split is exhausting. And here's the part that often gets misunderstood. The problem isn't that you haven't healed enough. It's that insight alone doesn't always equal integration. So you can understand your patterns and still be learning how to lead yourself through them. Self-leadership. That's a different skill. And most of us were never taught how to build it. So when parents get stuck here, they often turn the inside inward as a weapon. They say things like, I should be past this. Other people don't struggle like this. What's wrong with me? And that self-attack actually makes the snapping more likely, not less. So let me offer you a reframe that might feel relieving. What if the snapping isn't evidence that you're failing, but information about where support is still needed? What if the exhaustion you feel isn't because you're doing it wrong, but because you're trying to carry this alone? Cycle breaking requires more than awareness. It requires containment or a container. It requires a safe place to bring your problems and talk about them honestly. It requires a place where you are still allowed to learn without being shamed or fixed. It requires learning how to stay with yourself after a hard moment instead of abandoning yourself. That's when real change starts to happen. Because when you stop making snapping mean something about who you are, you free up the energy to respond differently next time. You repair faster. You stay connected to your children and to yourself. You model accountability without self-destruction. And your kids don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be present and real. So, if you've listened to this to the end and are thinking, yes, this is the tired I feel, I want to invite you into curiosity instead of judgment. One simple place to start is understanding where your parenting strength already lives and where you might be headed next, where you might be overextended. That's why I created the Parenting Pillar of Strength quiz. It's in my profile, and it's not about diagnosing you or pointing out what's wrong. It's about helping you see yourself more clearly with compassion and honesty. Because knowing better is a beginning. Learning how to lead yourself through the hard moments, that's the practice. And that practice is how we raise badass humans, by becoming one ourselves.